Hello and welcome to another Office Hours capsule. That's right. This is a small segment of my Office Hours live stream that I do on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. Come join us live and chat here as we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more. And I say and more because we've talked about the ISC that was released this week. We talked a little bit about the controversy of CIG calling Stormbreaker exploration. And then we also went on a rant about World War II history and history in general, because I'm a history teacher by profession and have a degree in history. So passionate about that stuff. That's why I do lore. But without any further ado, today we're going to be looking at the monthly report from May 2025. Now, it's important to understand that I am going to read the whole thing from beginning to end, and I may have a little bit of embellishments here and there, kind of giving you an idea of what's being talked about, my own sort of running analysis. I haven't read this fully on my own until just now, but I believe it's important to read the whole thing word for word so you understand exactly what's being said and don't take just any analysis, shortened version for granted. So hopefully you can kick back, relax, grab something to drink, and let's jump right into the May 2025 monthly report. All right. Alpha 4.2 Stormbreaker is live in the public test universe. There's still a lot to do behind the scenes as the content gets pushed to the groundbreaking point in preparation for the live release. To the breaking point. Alongside patch fixes and other various changes, many teams touched on tech, locations, and updates coming later this year. Read on for more for all of the latest info. AI content. Now, before we get into the AI stuff, I do think it's important to understand that a lot of what AI content is stuff that I believe may be Squadron 42 based, not necessarily Star Citizen, even though they don't say Star Citizen or Squadron 42, they don't have them separate anymore. But a lot of what they've been doing is sort of updates to some of the things they've done in the past. So we'll just read through it. AI content continued to support Star Citizen's monthly release cadence. It was exciting to see the comms calls over the start to make their way into the game, as well as finally unveiling the news flash content around the landing zones. These little updates will help provide players updates about the events happening around the verse, the content team. As they continued to develop these features, the devs requested additional functionality to allow for new features, such as scheduling, as well as scope out work to make things like channels. AI content also continued to support the mission teams as they integrated new comms content alongside new lines for Wicklow. On larger scale initiatives, the team worked alongside combat AI to devise new collection of wildline triggers for combatants, and how they could, or whether they should, plug into the proposed line set for generic population NPCs. Ooh, that's interesting. So, for those of you who don't know, all of the population of the NPCs are supposed to have generic wild lines. Like, you should be able to walk up to them and talk to them, and they'll have something to say to you. Other games have done this in the past, and I believe CIG's plan long-term was to have all AI, all NPCs walking around like a landing zone or an area, if they're friendly, have a small conversation tree that you can go through, but it'll probably be very samey. The team also reviewed and standardized the trigger list used by behaviors across the game to ensure that there is a single list of context words that everyone is operating with. This will prevent confusion when building behaviors or structuring missions. AI features. In May, AI features ensured human combat is in optimal state for several key areas: ammo management and behavior, cover usage, first reactions and perception, attack and defend areas, investigations, grenade use, tactics, and medical behavior. The main focus is to stabilize and reach gold standard for each. If you've been playing especially with Hathor, the Hathor NPCs are a lot more advanced than other NPCs in the game. Especially like most of the FPS NPCs are a heck of a lot more advanced. I've experienced firsthand them picking up a better weapon and using it to suppress me, and then suppressing me into a corner and then throwing a grenade at me. So And I'm sure some of you have also experienced this in the game as well. Again, it's depending on how well the servers are functioning, because like if you tried to play the latest Stormbreaker mission 4.2 PTU, you'll know that it's hot garbage, and the AI acts accordingly. But in other places, it's much better. So, in pursuit of the above, various issues were fixed, including NPCs looting ammo too close to hostiles, NPCs handling light switch disruption, and first reactions triggering simultaneously and putting all the AI into unresponsive state. A bug was also fixed that caused NPCs to incorrectly count ammo and evaluate remaining resources, causing them to loot more than necessary. I definitely saw that happen, where they would shoot an entire magazine and then immediately pick up a gun and start shooting that instead of using the entire magazines they have. Which they're supposed to. They have like 3 magazines. They're supposed to use all of the magazines before going for something else. Because they do use ammo. Various improvements were made too, including how NPCs select and use cover for shooting. They also made it easier to add new information to the AI weapon component debug, and improve the investigate flow to work better over a range of conditions with multiple NPCs at different awareness levels. Devs also customized the friendly fire check so that it can be balanced to give NPCs the desired behavior and prevent them from shooting when players feel they shouldn't. The Wildline setup channel was updated to enable the devs to mute and suppress already queued lines after the death of an NPC, so they won't be shouting out from their grave. Defend area and combat movement queries were also updated to ensure NPCs don't get stuck in spawn closets. For example, if too many NPCs are set to enter a 3x6 area, they will get stuck. New tech and features were implemented too, including logic to prevent low to medium priority wildlines from triggering during track view sequences that NPCs are involved in. A lot of this stuff seems like they're working on this in May. A lot of these were issues that I've seen personally in 4.1.1. So maybe they're fixed in 4.2? I don't know. Logic was also added for switching to the aim target location to the visible element of the body while considering aiming priority, torso, then head. AI features also finished work to ensure NPCs animated correctly to animatedly react to compromised cover, cleaned up the NPC medic flow to make it more robust, and improved the visuals, added additional debugging to balance the first reaction times for audio and visual events, and added trait debugging to prevent conflicting behavior traits. So all AI have a series of traits. Each of these traits are randomized. So an AI spawns in, it can have several different traits attached to it. One of them is pusher, another is sniper, another is flanker, another is assault, another is soldier. Like they have different traits. So you could have, say, for instance, an aggressive sniper who will constantly try to fire at you as much as possible, even though they're from a distance. And you could have like a cautious pusher who will push at you but try to use cover as they're pushing towards you. So what they're saying here is they're trying to prevent the behaviors that would be like a pusher sniper from being spawned, because how can you be a pusher and a sniper at the same time? That means you would be moving in and trying to stay back, which doesn't work. So the AI can get sort of conflicted by it. But because they're randomly generated, that's possible to happen. They must not have like negating factors, or there may be some other factors which are more nuanced that don't always negate or they didn't think would negate, and they have been negating. Fix was added to place dead bodies to prevent them from causing the AI to react when, from a story perspective, they already existed in the world. Finally, for AI features, the team added audio proc clips to take down animations so that nearby AI are alerted. They also added debugging logging to distribute disturbance events to prevent AI from reacting before the level has started properly. AI Game Intelligence Development Team. In May, the Game Intelligence Development Team began work on the UI prototype for Mission System version 2, specifically the outline header design including the mission object properties design, the outline infrastructure, and the generic outline panel. This also involved creating UI visuals for the outline with its components. Alongside this, the team also fixed small bugs that worked on feature requested by the game designers to improve StarScript. Interesting. So Mission System version 2 is still being worked on. I was under the impression that it was finished, but I guess it's not fully finished. Maybe the baseline features are finished, and the additional features like AI stuff and other things just aren't added yet. Because the idea being that when this new mission system is in, it won't require dedicated designers. It could just be, a handful of people, 3 to 4 people in CIG, to just sit down and mock up a mission for easy use, so that they can just constantly pump out missions rather than having to have a dedicated UI team and AI team to kind of code things manually or to craft things manually for a specific event. AI tech. Last month, AI tech continued to improve how navigation links connect to external zones. The team are currently updating links that utilize motion warp, such as mantle or jumping down, to rely on specific metrics, which will enable them to be utilized by different categories of creatures. Updates were also made to the chase movement request to allow multiple destinations around bigger targets like ground vehicles or apex creatures. The first stage of ongoing improvements to 3D navigation was completed. This involved voxelizing custom areas and allowing them to define granularity. Currently, the voxelization data is being used to improve collision avoidance during AI ship flight, which was working okay. It's not great, but it works. The core work for serializing subsumption variables was completed, which is used for our network synchronization and the save and load mechanism. The subsumption conversation feature, a clustering algorithm was added to split participants into more meaningful groups. This group data will be used to create avoidance obstacles, meaning NPCs will be able to avoid others already in a conversation group. Oh yeah, because they do that already, where you'll have 2 people who are talking, and then 2 more people will show up and start talking, so you have a cacophony of 4 people talking at once. On the tool side, multiple usability improvements were made to StarScript, such as allowing for bulk node deletion and discarding of invalid subplatforms when loading a platform or making a document as modified when reordering variables. Animation. The facial animation team recorded and processed content for upcoming releases for both new and existing mission givers, including Wicklow. They also continued to provide new voice packs that will populate generic NPCs throughout the verse and begin supporting the recently added newsflash content. Animations were developed for an upcoming creature too. Art characters. May saw the character art team progress with new creatures, a heavy armor, and gameplay rewards. They also kicked off a light armor. The concept team art prepared handoff sheets and explored future in-game armor rewards. Here's the big one. The one that's going to be on the thumbnail, because this is how people watch my stuff. Art ships. As usual, May was extremely busy for the vehicle content teams as they supported new releases, progressed with upcoming vehicles, and kicked off projects for the next year or so. In Europe, 4 unannounced ships progressed. The first officially entered production, while the second progressed towards its upcoming white box review gate. The third continued down the production pipeline, with the artists currently waiting for feedback from the Laud Zero review. The fourth received considerable attention during its white box phase, particularly around the cockpit entry requirements, as it will receive entirely new enter and exit animations, something rarely done at this level. So one of those is likely going to be in 4.2. Possibly the third, well, it could be not. We'll see. Because they said the ICT isn't going to be sold, the Atlas Combat version. It's going to be only earnable in game. So we may have no ship for 4.2, which would be interesting. Maybe 4.2.1 with some of these, but the already announced ships, the Anvil Paladin progressed through Greybox, benefiting from the recent work on the Asgard to help speed up its creation. Consolidated Outland Pioneer continued its long and extensive white box phase. The sheer scale and complexity of the ship mean that it's a longer than normal phase. Content team. Then, after a short pause to help close out Invictus ships, work resumed on the Ironclad. This is something that I've been asked constantly from people. Where is the Ironclad? What's the Ironclad? Is it been canceled? Is it making it this year? So last we heard it was in gray box. This isn't specifically going to say anything about gray box or anything else like that, but who knows. With a focus on blocking out every room with the appropriate Drake kits. Somebody asked me, what are Drake kits? CIG makes kits of every ship they develop. So there's always some custom stuff they have to do for every ship. So they create some of that custom stuff, and that becomes like the Saber has its own kit. Now, if CIG wants to make an Aegis fighter, they might take some elements from the Saber kit and from the Gladius kit, or just from the generic Aegis kit that they have, which has different elements from different ships, and maybe scale them differently and such. And they'll try to use as much of that kit as possible to A, retain the same design style as Aegis has, and B, to make it easier to make the ship. So they don't have to custom mold new paneling for every ship. They can just copy and paste and modify a mold that already exists. And that's what allows them to create ships like the Asgard much faster than, say, the Banner Merchantman, because the Banner Merchantman has no kit. Its closest kit is the Defender, which doesn't have much. So the reason why we're seeing, Drake and Misk and RSI get all these work done is because they have large ships that need those kits to be done to make it easier to make the larger ships. That's one of the reasons why the Pioneer is taking probably much longer, because there is no kit for the Pioneer. It's the Nomad and the Mustang, which are tiny ships in comparison. Cockpits or kits, yeah. With the Guardian MX Live, the North American teams moved on to closing out upcoming variant for its impending release. With an upcoming variant for an impending release. Are we getting another Guardian variant? With the ship successfully passing its final review, or maybe it's just a different variant. Okay, so that's what we're getting. We're getting whatever the team that worked on their MX is now working on. That North American team is now releasing a ship for 4.2. Whatever this is the 4.2 ship. Another unannounced vehicle passed its white box review following minor adjustments to its key mechanics. The RSI Apollo Medivac and Triage passed their gray box reviews, with the focus on ensuring each medbed module tier is distinct without being disruptively different to use. The RSI Perseus continued through gray box, ready for its gate review early this month. Hey, so that means that the Medivac is through its reviews. So that means they're going to go through their gate reviews next, between Greybox and Laud Zero. And the Perseus is done. So it's going through its Laud Zero phase. Not done. It goes through its Laud Zero phase. That's its last gate. So once it hits the gate, it goes into Laud Zero, which is the step before final art, and then release. So it goes concept, production, white box, gray box, Laud Zero, final art, release. It's interesting because the Medivac, the Apollo specifically, we said they had to reconcept the medical modules because they're swappable, and the cockpit. That's the last month they said they were having some trouble with that. Apparently they're good now, so it's good. All right. Community. The community team spent much of May breaking down community feedback / sentiment across all platforms and ensuring delivery to the right teams internally. The team published the save the date announcements, the Invictus Launch Week 2955, as well as providing Spectrum support with the informative guide and FAQ. They also advised the community of the new opportunity for Idris owners to name their ship, and made players aware of the changes introduced with Alpha 411. Support for Invictus and the accompanying free flight also included multiple comm links, such as the manufacturer schedule, a referral bonus promotion, and QAs for the Greycat MTC, MX, and Anvil Asgard. The team also supported the social media selfie screenshot contest, which allowed players to show off their best looks at a variety of exotic locales around the verse. I like that. It's Yo-Yo Meg. I love it, especially with the double dog. Throughout May, the team connected with the community as part of the 2025 Bar Citizen World Tour. This included venues in the United States, Korea, China, Spain, Germany, and France. The team published an invitation for the upcoming International Bar Citizen 2025 and have plans to visit additional locations throughout the year. Correspondingly, submissions were announced for CitizenCon Direct watch parties that will pair with the camaraderie of the Bar Citizen with the energy of CitizenCon. The team is currently deep into planning for this year's event, which is shaping up to be a fun one. Finally, alongside evergreen tasks such as This Week in Star Citizen, the bi-weekly roadmap updates and roundups, monthly reports like this one, and the monthly refresh of the Arena Commander schedule, the community team supported the epic conclusion to the System 7 race series presented by Atmo Esports. Beijing. Yeah, so is Beijing. I love the, is that a Castic Arms? No, it's a Klaus inverter in the back. I like that. Oh, and Sandy was there. And Aaron. Sweet. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be, it's just sort of a plug, but I'm one of the MCs for Quantum Vegas, which is if you've seen BCon or the Bar Citizen Beijing, the Chinese Bar Citizens, or Con 42, those sorts of large community events, we don't really have one in the United States. So community members and myself, so members of the community from various organizations, content creators, we got together and decided we wanted to do something in the United States. So we created Quantum Vegas, which is happening on July 12th. If you're watching this right now, you still have 5 days, so till June 10th, to get $99 tickets. So it's for 1 day at Area 15 in Las Vegas. So if you're in the United States, if you're nearby, come join us. Come, get a ticket and come join us. But we're hoping to make this an annual event. And I can say Sean Tracy's going to be there, Xylo's going to be there, Galactica's going to be there, and Sandy Gardner's going to be there. So we may have a few more people from CIG as well showing up to attend the event and to answer questions and stuff like that. But I'm going to be there. I know Love and G fan's going to be there. A couple of people are going to be there as well. So come join us there if you have a chance to. So, all right, core gameplay. Oh, and to find out information, quantumvegas.space. That's where you can also buy tickets. Core Gameplay are currently working through a long list of weapon improvements to further modernize the FPS experience for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, including tweaking how disruptive weapon raising is to the flow of combat. Engineering and design collaborated to iterate on these improvements to provide more polished combat gameplay. Work on hacking continued. Whew, I had to pause there for a moment. Hacking? CIG takes the year of stability to basically build all of their features. Oh, okay. Work on hacking continued, which improved highlighting suggested abilities for certain gameplay situations. Abilities are now also disabled when they're not applicable for certain situations, to better explain hacking gameplay. The hacking terminal now also supports color-coded terminal output for better clarity. I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077. This sounds like quick hack. I suggested a while ago when they first introduced hacking that they should go, because it's inspired by cyberpunk media from the 80s, to just do a deck, have a classic hacking deck where you have programs you run individually for specific situations. And the program itself that you run will depend on what you're facing. So a door may require certain types of programs you need to cycle through, because that's a little bit more engaging than just like, Pac-Man. Which is what they originally was going to do. It seems a lot more intuitive than they were doing before, which is neat. Because it's talking about highlighting suggested abilities for certain gameplay situations. Abilities are now disabled when they're not applicable to specific situation to better explain hacking gameplay. So you get abilities for specific situations. That sounds like the quick hack situation from Cyberpunk 2077. So, yeah. Hang on, I need to get my cyber deck. I know it's an 80s thing, but everything in Star Citizen is super tape futurism sort of thing. So, but yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy. For engineering, the team reviewed feedback on and outstanding work before dividing the feature into smaller milestones. The first milestone primarily covers core gameplay mechanics, such as the engineering screen and its ability to manipulate power distribution and item states. The recent internal review provided feedback and polish that will be addressed before the feature reaches players. The diagnostic screen also received new functionality and utility. Part of the ongoing quality of life. So, before I get that, engineering is now, we know this already, they've broken it up into smaller chunks, which is classic CIG. We're doing this big feature. It's 6 months late. We're breaking it up into 4 different smaller features, which are going to take a year to produce. It is what it is at this point, and that's saying something. At least it's coming out, you know. Part of the ongoing quality of life initiative, core gameplay are working on improvements to the harvestable and loot systems. This is to address various performance issues and, more importantly, give the designers more control over how harvestables and loot are spawned. For Alpha 4.1.1, the devs enabled the ability for players to quantum travel to their own vehicles, which is received positively by the community. Item recovery is currently progressing with tasks for their Tier 1 progression. Oh, CIG, stop doing this. Oh. Are they working on Tier 1? For those of you who don't know, Tier 1 is very different from Tier 0. I think you have to purchase, you have to like request those items back. You don't just get them back on your respawn. And so there's a timer of a sort that to get them back. So there's like an element to it. But I believe Tier 1 is around where crafting has to be out there too, so. Part of the space combat focused content for Alpha 4.1.1, core gameplay supported design and tweaking and tuning recoil for vehicle weapons. In collaboration with SFX, VFX, and vehicle content, they made a concerted push to polish the combat experience in cockpits and turrets, and are hoping to expand this with more weapons soon. If you've done some space combat, I've noticed that the weapons are more thumpy. They have a thump to them. And if they're by your cockpit, they will shake your cockpit. Not annoyingly so, but it's definitely, you can feel the like oomph of the firing. An additional stepping stone towards the new vehicle radar and scanning system, changes are made to the information available to players before a ship is scanned. The team is currently reviewing the feedback that came from the change and are looking to implement improvements that smooth out that flow. The only issue with it currently is that it's really hard to scan because like the range is super short and you don't get a lot of feedback from the current scanning mechanic because it kind of goes up and then forward, like complete. I've noticed there's like a color change that can happen. Like when you're scanning something, when you're in scanning range, it becomes purple. And if you get close, if you start scanning, it'll turn gold. And then that gold will stay there. Basically means you're scanning it and you have to wait for the progress bar to go all the way up. But it doesn't really fully fill because it's kind of busted. But you just kind of have to know the system, which is very jank, which is why I'm sure a lot of people don't scan. The feedback I have is make sure we can zoom in and make it easier to basically scan on the fly. Quantum interdiction is also being reworked to be more compatible with server meshing, leveraging tech deployed for Alpha 4.1 to communicate across different volumes and different servers. This rework is primarily about reliability, not the mechanic itself. We recognize there's an imbalance between lawful and unlawful gameplay and want to ensure players on both ends have the tools needed to contend with others, or gameplay team. The recent work on control surfaces reached the major milestone, with most of the atmospheric flight model behaviors now in first pass implementation. As part of this, ships will now more accurately reflect expected flight behavior based on lift, drag, angle of attack, and other factors. Thrusters currently activate smoothly to compensate for different atmospheric densities, while hovering feels more natural. Hey, that's good. This is first pass, so they're going to have to work on it a little bit more, but they've been talking about this for a bit in the monthly reports and out of the monthly reports as well. This is effectively the return of hover mode, for those of you who remember hover mode. And they've said this recently, where like they don't want ships to be able to just tip down, straight down and fire. They want that to like cause your ship to overreact, because your front thrusters are never going to be as efficient as your back thrusters unless you have like VTOL, and even then VTOL is going to have to be in a certain position. So the goal is to mechanically force you to move to be able to get an angle rather than just straight down. I skipped the one that's just about the ICT. No, I'm not seeing. Oh, I did. The team also wrapped up work on the new Argo ATLS ICT and Geo ICT, both of which support weapons instead of their utility attachments. Additional bug fixes and polish are underway, but the team is excited for further expansion on the ATLS platform and provide players with more options on the battlefield. Very cool. Yeah, I was so blown away by hacking, but we also know about the ICT because it's in 4.2. So, the core gameplay team fixed numerous issues related to cargo crates intersecting with each other alongside the ability to retrieve multiple vehicles from a hangar. Players now also receive a warning when their ship accumulates distortion damage. For upcoming gameplay, medical beds now heal radiation damage. A patch was also done to ensure players receive proper visual feedback on radiation in the environment. Transit rework, initially referred to as the transport system, continued toward the first playable version for internal validation. The team moved transport from push system to serialized variables on the transport manager for improved reliability. To validate the new system, design trialed the transport system in the new Babbage HABs. They're currently addressing feedback and issuing resulting from the test and issues resulting from the test. So it's called the transport system now rather than the transit rework. Okay. The Apex Valakar core gameplay core gameplay supported the character and AI teams on multiple fronts. For example, the irradiated Apex Valakar's projectiles now spawn hazard volumes that damage the player over time. The Apex creature also spawns a quote molehill unquote where it exits and enters the ground. FPS radar and scanning also progressed. The devs can now specify if contracts should remain visible for extended periods after they have been first scanned, which is useful for designers in curated situations. Additionally, they can now reduce the signatures of a contact if it's considered dead. For example, dead NPCs are no longer detectable from the same distances as living ones. As part of the upcoming patch release, a lot of feedback was received around the reliability and quality of new comms notifications. As a result, the team is working through various improvements to ensure mission givers appear as they are at their best and don't awkwardly look at the players. One of the things that's weird is that you can tell with the new guy for Foxwell. He's clearly reading off a script. You can see his eyes move over the script as he's talking. And he's just like, it's so awkward when he's the way he's like reading from the script. It's clear they just pulled that raw data in because it's clear that the actor was reading from the script and just trying not to move their head because, like, you know, capture. Like, you need to add a little bit more animation to that head. Finally, for core gameplay, the team are currently supporting an upcoming global event, including new ways to track and display player progress. Okay. Looking forward to that. Lighting. Lighting supported all the recent upcoming patch releases, including adding environmental and dynamic lighting to interactable event locations and pyro. Locations team continue to support ongoing monthly content releases. Last month, there was a particular focus on Invictus launch week, and with the devs looking forward to releases in July and August alongside updates to Wicklow. Narrative, my bread and butter. May brought it with a fury of activity from the narrative team. Top of the month saw them tracking bugs found in Alpha 4.1.1 PTU in preparation for the patch's full release. Simultaneously, members of the team finalized new content that will be heavily narrative focused and even feature audio recordings for players to discover. That's probably the Stormbreaker stuff. Beyond that, dozens of new mission contractors were created for upcoming gameplay, not only provide players with critical information, but a sense of character as well. The writers also worked on scripts for new mission providers who will be making an appearance later this year. Because of the time involved with writing, recording, and processing performances, there's an interesting balance of locking down a script while allowing for the design team to continue refining the gameplay as they continue to develop it. This often means that we now record alternate lines that would be useful in cases of the scope or design of a new mission needs to be adjusted closer to release. Narrative team. Okay. So this is an example of one of the things I bring up in my streams a lot, which is CIG sort of learning how to make this content. And by that, I don't mean like CIG doesn't know how to make games. A lot of those developers are expert at making games, but they're learning how to make Star Citizen. And in this case, it's like the flow. How do you, as somebody who writes videos and like records them and like, puts them on the internet, I know that there's a process that I've used for my flow for writing, reading, like editing and posting. And I have to adjust that if I want to start to hit specific milestones. So right now I'm working on an improved flow so that I can post more videos more frequently so that y'all can be entertained, but also the algorithm doesn't forget me. So part of that is learning how to write, what I can cut, what I can't cut, and what I can utilize, when I can utilize, content that already exists, that I've already written, and also a lot of other factors. What they're saying here is they're recording more lines than usual because they may need to change the gameplay, but they won't have a chance to bring that actor back to record more lines and their, visual stuff because it's expensive. So they don't want to like record a bunch of stuff, have the mission be designed, and then have to bring that actor back to record it again. They'd rather just get as much as they can. So they're covering as more bases a lot more equally than otherwise. That makes sense. Finally, the team solidified the story plans for next year, taking in the initial high-level outline and pulling in more details to help other teams continue with their planning. I am interested to know if the story plans are based off of what's available. It has to be, right? They have to be based off of what CIG thinks is going to be working in the game, rather than based off of whatever story they want to tell. Online technology. In May, the network team continued to work on dynamic server meshing. Hey, dynamic server meshing. There we go. Separating the DGS assignment from the territory manager. The objective is to base territory runtime distribution on several factors, including entity and player distribution and overall shard occupancy. Subsequent work will remove territories from the equation altogether, allowing compute resources to be deployed exactly as they're needed. I remember lots of people, specifically Benoit himself, saying that the team would have liked to have just skipped dynamic meshing altogether, or skipped static meshing altogether and went straight to dynamic. But I'm guessing they found a lot of good, but they also knew that the process is important. It was clear they found a bunch of stuff they needed to fix in static before they could get to dynamic. So glad that they're working on dynamics. This is the first time they've talked about dynamic since CitizenCon, basically. It sounds like they're not too far away from getting done. My guess would be another 3 to 6 months. So probably by the end of the year, they'll have dynamic in. Live Tools team worked on improving moderation tools to provide a better user experience for everyone. They also improved the solution that allows for the publishing team to schedule in-game messages and continue to add smaller improvements to the various tools used across development. New infrastructure was deployed to better handle game crashes and errors too. Online services continue to work on the item imprint system, including the design aspects that progressed with the diffusion removal to lay the groundwork for social refactor. Online services also continued to help fix various issues that were discovered by players alongside minor improvements to the mission system tools. So online technology has been working on a lot of the social stuff as well. They've been working on it for the last couple of months. So small updates to the social system have begun, including some back-end work, some infrastructure work that they've been working on. Hopefully by the end of the year. UI. In May, the team completed UI for an upcoming event, creating various screens to support narrative and gameplay. Once completed, the design teams kicked off a plan for the next one. The new Mirai UI was also finished, which the team kept quiet until the launch of the Guardian MX. Mirai uses vibrant colors and dynamic shapes, which were great fun to work on, and mark an interesting departure from the retro sci-fi look of our other styles, like Drake and Aegis UI team. The new layout and shapes were challenged to implement with this existing setup, so the team assessed the problems and rewrote the UI core to make it easier to create more interesting styles in the future. Elsewhere, performance improvements continued with the team investigating spreading UI processing across multiple cores. Visual prototypes were also worked on for some interesting but currently confidential 3D interactive UIs to replace one of the older systems in the game. Scanning. Almost certainly that's scanning. Literally here for scanning. Like, come on. I mean, obviously this is the Guardian, but scanning. And that's it. But very interesting. So the big takeaways, hacking is being worked on, scanning is still being worked on, engineering's been broken up into smaller chunks, dynamic server meshing is being worked on, the narrative is already finished working on their new the locking down the story for next year, so they know what the story is going to be. They also, all of the mission contractors are getting their actors now. So when you take a mission, you'll get like voice lines and a character talking to you, like we have now with some of those ones. So all of those are getting them done, and they're improving that. Let's see if anything else wins. The transit rework is now called the transport system. It's being reworked. Hacking. I don't know if I said that already. Hacking is being worked on. FPS stuff is being worked on. For ships, we've got the Pioneer, the Ironclad, the Apollo Medivac, and the Perseus all being worked on, plus 5 ships, one that's going to be released probably in 4.2, and 4 ships which are in the various stages of development, which are not been announced yet. And the 5th, that one of those that's done is a variant, apparently. Yeah. And the AI is getting sort of polishes and bugs. Like the FPS is going for gold standard. So they're doing their gold standard final version of FPS AI soon. And they'll definitely tell that. So, as always, I want to hear your thoughts on anything we read down below. Am I like hopium for saying things like DGS or dynamic server meshing is coming sooner than later, and Ironclad's coming this year, and Perseus is coming this year, all those sorts of things? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you did enjoy this, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Join us live, again, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you join chat here who's going to lie to you and tell you this is live. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.